What's going on, guys? This is Underworld Tales, and today we're going to be breaking down the hidden messages in the Godfather film. The Godfather is arguably one of the best films ever made, and it has gone on to influence many movies. Now, a big thing about this movie that people often point out is how oranges constantly foreshadow a death. Vito gets gunned down when he's buying oranges, and he later puts peels in his mouth. This is in the scene in which Vito dies from old age, while the former being when he had a brush with death during the assassination attempt. Sonny passes in front of a billboard for oranges just before he's killed, and when he beats Carlo up, his shirt has orange on it. During the sit-down with the Dons, an orange is also in front of all of them. At the end of the film, Michael has them all killed, with this foreshadowing their deaths to come later on. During the wedding scene, Clemenza asks for more wine, and Paulie gives him a pitcher that has oranges in it. Tessio too grabs an orange, and he's killed at the end of the film. Now, this was later referenced in The Sopranos when Tony held a bottle of orange juice when a hit was made on his life. So you can see why people would assume this was a big thing. But the oranges and their proximity to the deaths in the film is little more than a coincidence. The production designer Dean Tavolaris added oranges to the sets because sets were just kind of drab. He liked using oranges as a pop of color, but no one involved in the film ever premeditated using them as a harbinger of death. It just kind of worked out that way, and the fan theories took on a life of their own. The next hidden detail you might have missed is, as the song plays out during minute 16, we cut to a man who puts his hand around two girls. This is Luis Prima, who recorded the song C'è la luna mezzo mare, which the characters are currently singing on stage at the wedding. Watch for those dentures, mate. Caught them falling out. But this celebration during the wedding scene really added a lot of light to the film, and it's difficult not to get swept up in the attraction of the mob. The hospital scene is an extremely unique scene in the movie. In the beginning of it, it feels and moves like a bad dream, like something out of a Stephen King novel directed by Stanley Kubrick. Michael Corleone notices nobody outside the hospital. Then he goes to the nurse's station and there's nobody there. He realizes that's odd. Then he walks down the empty hallway as there's this record that's endlessly looping some weird sound, and he goes to a break room and sees a completely uneaten sandwich, which means people were moved away from that location quickly and unexpectedly. Michael's now running down the hallways of the hospital that's completely deserted. You can hear the echoes of his footsteps. It now really feels like a bad dream. We see the hallway come to an end, and Michael knows he has to walk up to the last door at the end. You can tell he's completely on edge at this point. He doesn't want to go there and open the door, but he knows he has to. The music at this point is completely overwhelming and booming. This borders on being a horror scene. It almost feels more scary when the nurse comes in and says he's not supposed to be there, because now he's thinking, shit, there's other people in the building, they're closing in. The fact that it's a 1940s hospital setting just makes it all the more disturbing. I was pointed out a specific piece of dialogue after Michael moves his father into a side room. He realizes that he has a bit of quiet time. He says, "I'm with you now." That's when Michael officially commits to being with the family and the family's organization for good. While at the hospital, in the room with his father, Michael is very worried about his father's safety after the assassination attempt. And rightly so, as more goons are en route. Luckily, Enzo the baker shows up to pay his respects, and Michael enlists him to bluff the carload of goons by standing out front with a posture that suggests they're armed. The detail I like so much happens after they successfully bluff the goons, who drive off after eyeing Enzo and Michael. Once the goons are gone, Enzo the baker fumbles out a cigarette, unable to light it because his hands are shaking so badly. But not Michael's. He lights Enzo's cigarette with cool, steady hands and pauses for a moment as if to take note of this. That he's seen action in war is no guarantee he's got steady hands. In fact, trauma would possibly have the opposite effect. So, he may very well have surprised himself. Either way, it's one of those great little touches that illustrate Michael's character and foreshadow his capability to one day lead the family. During the assassination scene in the restaurant is when I realized I was watching a masterpiece. A shot of Michael's face slowly zooming in. The dialogue is all Italian, no subtitles. We don't know what they are saying because Michael isn't listening. The perfect facial expression on Pacino shows he's freaking out inside, trying to remain calm and not raise suspicion on the outside as he gets ready to assassinate Sollozzo and Captain McCluskey. Now let's go back to the opening scene.
I believe in America. America has made my fortune.
The opening scene is iconic in that it sets the tone and atmosphere of The Godfather right from the start. The dimly lit room and Bonasera's emotional plea establish a dark and solemn atmosphere that permeates the entire film. But let's talk about the cat. The cat Vito is infamously petting throughout the scene wasn't in the original screenplay. It was a stray that Coppola found on the studio lot and added to the scene. The cat's just a small detail, but it's a symbolic one. The cat adds a human dimension to Vito, establishing he has a gentle and loving side. However, because cats have a long and, in my opinion, undeserved association with villains, it also establishes Vito has a dark side too.
Okay, moving on.
Small details like the cat add to Vito's complexity, making him one of the most legendary film characters of all time. During the horse's head scene, Jack Woltz gets on the wrong side of the Corleone family and as a result, wakes up to a horse's head. The scene demonstrates not only the extent of the Corleone family's power, but also their willingness to use violence to achieve their goals. The scene is supposed to be shocking, which is why Coppola needed it to be realistic. Unfortunately, he did not think that the prop head that was prepared looked real enough. So, instead of the prop, an actual horse's head was obtained from a local dog food company. This insane attention to detail is what makes the scene so horrific, and by extension so memorable. This scene has been referenced countless times on TV, including a great shot-for-shot parody in Modern Family, and also in film, recently including The Crazy Rich Asians. Now, let's go to Luca Brasi's death. Luca Brasi, Vito's violent enforcer, was feared among the New York crime families. His iconic death scene highlights the vulnerability of even the most fearsome individuals within the criminal underworld and foreshadows the dangers faced by other characters in the story. The scene was a major influence for George Lucas, a longtime friend of Coppola when he shot Jabba the Hutt's death in Return of the Jedi. Following Luca's death, Sonny receives a message, but before Luca is actually murdered, there's an insane detail that foretells his fate. Let's go back and watch Luca enter the bar again. This time, look at the glass. Since The Godfather, the phrase "sleeps with the fishes" has become common slang for killing someone and disposing of their body, and has been referenced and parodied in many films, cartoons, and TV shows, most famously The Simpsons and The Sopranos.
Louis Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
Luca Brasi. Luca.
Whatever.
Now, let's take a look at the leave the gun, take the cannoli scene. Throughout The Godfather, food holds subtle but symbolic significance. For example, at the very beginning of the film, the lavish feast at the wedding reception in post-war America immediately establishes that the Corleone family are wealthy and powerful. However, the most iconic reference to food is when Clemenza famously tells Lampone to
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
This short but memorable line is extremely significant. It encapsulates the intersection of everyday life and criminal life in the world of the Corleone family. The contrast between the seriousness of leaving the gun and the casualness of taking the cannoli creates a powerful but also kind of humorous juxtaposition. The entire scene was parodied perfectly just a few years ago in Family Guy.
Leave the gun. Take the cream soda.
Thank you for tuning in, and let me know if you knew any of these hidden details in the comments.